Hello. If you are watching the playback of this, let us know what you rated the book, or if you're not reading them along with us and just here for vibes. And then if you're just in the comments, let us know what you rated the book.
And if you're
Or if you're just here for vibes.
The vibes are good.
Are they? In backstage, they didn't seem good.
Becca, you're spoiling the live show. Jeez.
Sorry. No, but that keeps them hooked. Now they're going to keep watching.
Becca did not come to play today.
I apologize in advance if y'all hear see me mute the thing every once in a while. I'm yelling at lots of dogs today.
Fair.
That's fair.
There's hellos. Let's go around and say what we rated the book. Mel, you get to start.
Oh no, the host starts, ma'am.
No, we always start that over there and go around.
Okay. Well, I rated it a 3. Basic opinions, not a whole lot happens. The women still get on my nerves, and I'm looking for more character development.
I give it 4. Pretty much the same as Eye of the World. I liked the contents of this one more, but it didn't progress the story as much as I would like it to. But I did actually really like that the women were my favorite part of this book.
Ooh.
We didn't see enough of them, but they were my favorite. We didn't see enough of a lot of people actually, but
yeah, that's true.
The women were my favorite part.
I'm thinking it'll get there. I'm just like,
it's too much Rand.
Too much Rand.
That is my biggest complaint. Like, there's too much Rand, and I just don't feel like it's ever going to change.
All the Rand.
Sandra, what about you?
I rated it 4 stars. I like this much more than the first one, I think. I think the first one is slower than this one. Because in the first one, we just introduce, but in this one, we actually get, some stuff going on. Even though, yes, there's a lot of traveling. But I like traveling. I think it's fun.
I don't mind traveling either. I like traveling.
I always think it's fun to travel and stuff. But yeah, it's too much Rand. I think if you Google the book and it says the percentage of each character point of view, I think Rand is over 50% more. I don't remember.
Oh my god, that's great, because I actually in my vlog I guessed that it was 60-40 or 70-30. So I feel like I was on it there.
Something like that. I don't remember exactly now. It was a lot of percentage of Rand. But I like that we got to see the tower and stuff like that, we didn't get to see before.
I agree with
and
that.
The ending, I think, is interesting, introducing that conflict. I'm not going to spoil, obviously. So I like a lot of elements, but I do agree. A lot of traveling, a lot of Rand.
Did you rate it the same on reread?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here to spoil the party, and I gave the book 2 stars. I hate Rand with a passion. There's nothing interesting about his character.
Rand is bland.
Which is not looking good for me in the rest of the series. I wanted more within the White Tower.
Yes, that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
But I feel like we didn't get enough of that. There's a thing that happens within the book that makes us not get a lot of time there, and it annoyed me. It seems like most people gave it 3s and 4s, and that everybody thinks that there's too much Rand.
I feel bad if anyone here likes Rand.
Rand is obviously the main character, but he still has too much main character energy.
Yeah.
He thinks everything's about him, and it is, but still not to the degree that he thinks it is.
I want to know in the comments if you guys liked it better than book 1, or about the same, or not as much.
Yeah. I feel like Rand is the kind of person who's why is everything about me? And then
the thing about
me, but don't make it about me, but it's about me.
The thing about women being attracted to Rand in this one that really bugged me is there's a point where Min's I'm not attracted to him, but I might marry him anyway. It's why though?
Because she saw it in a vision.
She's nice enough for me. I don't like him, but
They literally talked to him for 2 seconds, and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna marry him." Why? You literally think that he's going to go crazy. Why do you want to marry him?
That's a good point.
It's the same with
That
like
was a good point.
Elaine. She also is like attracted to Rand, and she talked to him like 5 minutes in a courtyard in the first book. I'm like,
You know
okay.
what? I am a big Elaine stan. She is
I
still
do
my
like
favorite.
Elaine.
I
will give you
love
all that.
Elaine.
She can do so much better than Rand.
Oh, I
That's
agree.
true, that's true. But then I think that the hottest guys in this book are Lan and her brothers, and none of them are options for her. So
Fair.
Man,
Rand is just like all they can get.
it's
pretty
sad.
much.
There's Perrin somewhere.
That's
Not
true.
there.
I also hate Perrin, so honestly, I hate
Oh.
everyone in this book. I don't even have a character that I like.
What about Matt? You were a big Matt girly.
I like Matt, but you see like nothing of Matt in this
Yeah.
book, so I feel like
Oh, yeah.
See, I don't like Matt because he's just sulky and bitter.
That's true.
Hey, it's not his fault. He's cursed by a dagger.
That is true. That is true. But his reaction to everything is just to shit on it.
yeah.
Anything happens to somebody else, and he's like, "Well, why is it happening to you? You're not special." Like, all right.
This is why I like him. Nobody's special. 'Cause no one is special. Even though you are special, you shouldn't think that.
We do need, I think Rand just needs a good like 1-2 punch and we'll be much better off.
I think
Lan
that
needs to
hope for
punch him.
eventually.
Yeah.
I think Rand just needs more to his character for me. Like I would like a dark moment or something, especially with like the power stuff.
Yeah.
Because right now he's just like one note the entire book.
I agree.
Yeah. He's just like, I don't want anything to do with a White Tower. I'm not the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use the power. That's like him. That's the whole book.
Literally.
Hopefully we'll get there.
That
I
is
know
the
people are
way
saying that
that.
they don't like Perrin in this book, but he was barely in it, which was one of my like criticisms of it. Like he's not there.
No one's here besides Rand.
Oh my god, the one chapter we have of Moraine, like she's there in the beginning. There's one like 5-page chapter where she's in the middle of the woods and then she just appears at the end.
I enjoy her chapters too because we tend to learn more about like how the magic works in them, and so sad that we didn't get them because I kept wondering about like what exactly goes on. Because when we're in Rand's POVs, when he uses the magic, it's always accidental. He does it so well, but it's always accidental. So I wanted someone to tell me how we actually use some magic.
Yeah, agreed.
Do we have any other spoiler-free thoughts, or should we just jump into spoilers?
Spoilers.
I did not have a
Spoilers.
banner set up, so I do. Look at me go.
You're so prepared.
I know.
You're just like, what's going on?
Noticed throughout this book though that there's a lot of like references to 3. I thought that was interesting. Like there's the 3 boys, and then Rand has 3 strings to like 3 girls at the end of the book. I don't know what it means, but I just noticed 3 come up a lot of times.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's weird because I just opened the tab. This wasn't what I was looking for, but it says 3 more false dragons. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
3s.
I didn't, like noticed that the first time around.
Yeah, no, I don't think I picked up on it at all.
Did you guys like the Armerlin seat? Swan Shanche, is that her name? Because I love her a lot. And we got introduced to her now. And I'm like excited to see more of her.
Okay, good. Because that's one thing that, like, again, you just don't see a lot of anybody. So it's hard to get attached or to form any like strong opinions about the newer characters, is because we just don't get a lot of them. So I'm hoping that we spend more time in the White Tower soon.
I think that's definitely fair, especially because like something that really puzzled me about this was that we were introduced to, do you pronounce it Sean Chan? I think is
Sean Chan? I think that's what they say in the audible.
Yeah. You're introduced to those, and then all of a sudden, like Egwene is just like captured by them. And it's like, but why is this just randomly like at the end of a book? So like you have all of these. It was very actually Stormlight-esque in the middle of this, where you had that one chapter with that guy with the boat, and also the Sean Chan just like appeared out of nowhere, and it was just one random chapter that wasn't following any of the main characters, and it reminded me a lot of Stormlight because that goes off on tangents like that. But then they just kind of came into the book, took over the end of it and all of the conflict when they were actually looking for Fane, and then they've disappeared. I imagine they'll be back at some point, but it was just very like seemingly out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it does that a lot with just like general political factions, like is it the Faldarans and just everybody who comes into it. Like we weren't at Tarvalon for a very long time,
Mhm.
and it seems like he's filling the world and the book full of all of these things, but he's not introducing them in a way that makes any sense. It's just like, look at this, now look at this, now look at
Yeah.
this. Okay,
Agreed.
can I have some
Yeah.
more of all of these things, please? And less of
That's-
random just wandering around being confused and complaining.
Yeah.
That's what they do in Stormlight, though. It's kind of just like, oh, we have these things now. I'm like, okay, I don't know why.
Oh my
I
god,
feel
Jessica's comment,
Yeah.
yes, the skill stones.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the
I
traveling
just won that
storms,
straight away.
etc.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you think about it, it's interesting because there's comparison to Game of Thrones in this series, and also comparison to Realm of the Eldlings. Especially in terms of like it's all just catalysts. Like the plot of this is the same as the plot of the Realm of the Eldlings, like the overall thing, like the big picture kind of plot.
Yeah.
But when did this become such an influential series? Because at the time that Assassin's Apprentice was released, the first book in this had only been out 6 years. So at what point did Wheel of Time become influential? Like, is it a coincidence that they're all the same? Or is it like a direct kind of reference? Because I can see references to Sanderson in this, which would make
Yeah,
more
but
sense.
Sanderson, as we
16
know,
years.
is a huge Wheel of Time fan. That's why
Yeah.
he finished the series. So, like, obviously, it has been influenced by the series.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know when they became super popular. I wasn't born.
I don't know. I think it could have been relatively soon though, because if you see a lot of like there are indie books that I have read that are getting really, really popular that have direct relations and things that they're pulling from books that have only been out 2 or 3 years. So I think that it's reasonable to say that if something was widely popular really fast, that you could see inspiration relatively quickly. Within a
It's
couple of
hard as well though, because like 1990 was like a completely like we didn't have internet really in 1990. So things like how fast did things spread?
True.
I feel like fantasy also in the 90s were probably just like, that's what the weirdos read, you know? You know what I
also
mean?
It's been as simple as Robert Jordan read Realm of the Elderlings and got inspired that way, right?
Mhm.
Like, or back and forth, whatever
Way
way.
around, yeah.
Yeah.
But this was released before, you know?
Mhm. I'm pretty sure like these traveling stones have been around in fantasy for a really long time.
Oh yeah. They're in
so-
Outlander, and I mean you'll find stuff like that in anything.
If you read Earthsea, there's a lot of like if you read Earthsea, you can see where Robin Hobb has been inspired by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Mhm.
So like I'm really interested in stuff like this and tracing back the origins of like fantasy tropes that have become such a big, you know, like how Hades and Persephone is such a thing that like it's so far away from the myth, it's like its own thing now.
Yeah.
Like where was the origin and like how was it carried through time? Because obviously not everybody's going to be repeating it from the origin. They're going to be repeating it from somebody who's repeated it from the origin and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Aragon. It's basically like Earthsea. But Aragon is like wildly popular, but like I feel like Earthsea is popular, but like I feel like more people have heard about Aragon.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys feel about Nynaeve's what is it called? I'm gonna call it an ascension.
That's
not what it's called.
to become an accepted.
Oh yeah, that I really liked that.
Me
I
and
like
Becca had
that
a nice
too.
combo
Didn't
about
like
it.
it.
But,
I'm a big Lan fangirl, okay? They had another moment right at the beginning of this where I was like, the angst.
But like, you know, you guys know Divergent, right? And then you know you go into like this machine that shows you all your fears. And it reminds me of that. Obviously,
Yeah.
Divergent came much later, but it's like it was going to show Nynaeve's her greatest fears, and I was just like, interesting.
I liked the idea of them, but I was very annoyed that her insta romance with Lan was the biggest fear. when there
Yes.
was like the fear before that, I felt like should have made way more sense for her character to
Well,
be
it
scared of.
wasn't the biggest fear, was it? It was like a past, present, and future fear. So he was the future fear, like a possible future that she could have that she had to turn away from. Whereas like the village was like her kind of present priority that she had to turn away from. So it was kind of like she had to say goodbye to who she was, turn away from the things that she's attached to, and like give up her future to become an Aes Sedai.
I get it.
Not Becca
but at
being
the same
smart.
time,
That just came to me right then. I was like, articulate it well, but apparently.
But also, what was her past for them? Because her past was kind of fighting a Forsaken and being assaulted. So like, what has that to do with letting go of her past? But I feel like the present and the future fit really well, but the past fear just didn't make sense to me. Like,
also, like,
that tells me.
Yeah. Every time Nynaeve and Lan have a chapter, they talk about each other, but like we never actually see them like work on their relationship and have good moments. We have like one scene of them in the first book. It feels just
Ran's just like running around in the forest crying. So
I do.
Fight you.
I love Lan and Nynaeve. I love them.
I need more substance, and that's kind of an overarching theme for everything up to this point. It's just we're missing a lot of substance.
Lan is a man of few words, and like the few words that he speaks, just I know that he's full of substance.
I agree with Becca.
Yeah,
I mean, I like Lan. Lan's one of my favorite characters.
Me too.
But I even still think, like, even if it were her future fear, for it to be her greatest future fear, considering like the world might end. It's kind of like
Stacy coming in to help with the past fear.
Ooh.
Thank you, Stacy, coming through.
Love this.
stubborn.
Yes, everyone is always, oh, they are so stubborn. You're so stubborn. And I'm just like, geez.
I like really like Lan, and I would like to see Lan and Nynaeve together, but I just want moments of them being together instead of just them like always. Every time we have a POV from them, there's always one sentence about how they're pining over the other one and they can't be together and like all of this, but I never actually get to see them have this chemistry and this relationship.
Agreed.
I just feel like the perspective split is just bad in the book.
Yeah.
Like, considering how slow paced they are, you could have them the same length but filled with different character perspectives instead of so much of Rand doing very little, when other people are assumedly doing something slightly more interesting than we could see, or just other people not doing anything. It doesn't always have to be Rand not doing anything. Something that really bothered me about this book, actually, on this series in general so far, that I feel has potential to get better, but at the minute is a problem for me, and that is that everybody is reactionary. So everybody's just standing around and waiting for the plot to happen instead of going out and directly interacting with the plot. So I feel like as like people accept their fate, like Rand accepts that he is the dragon, there is potential for that to change moving forward. But right now it's so annoying because like the book starts and they're like, okay, we're going to go do this. And then they're like, okay, no, we can't do this. We'll go do this. And then the horn gets stolen. So it's like, right, okay, then we'll go do this. And like the first 100 pages is them just changing their plans because things are happening. And like, they don't even start the book until like all of this stuff has like rearranged what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So they're just very much reacting to everything. Like they went to Shan Chan to find Fane, but ended up doing something completely different because of stuff that was happening. Like they're not completing anything they're trying to, because it's just constant interruptions. Whereas I prefer a book where the characters are going out and achieving things intentionally, I guess.
True
about Moraine.
True. But when Lan gave his ring to Nynaeve, loved it.
I mean, yeah.
I would take that ring. That's what I got to say. What do you guys think about like the plot twist that Celine was one of the Forsaken?
That wasn't a plot twist. I knew that.
The plot twist?
She walked into a scene the same way that woman in the barn walked into the scene in the first book. You know, the one where like Matt's dying in a barn and she walks in and she tries to stab him. And they're like, oh my God, she's so beautiful, but so weird. was exactly the same with Celine. And I was like, something's not right with her. And then somebody said something and they like cursed Lanfear and it was like, oh, the daughter of darkness. And I was like, yeah, that's her.
I agree. Like it,
Yeah,
I knew from the second she walked in, there was.
Yeah.
I was just like, Ran, why are you so stupid? And the only thing you could think about was like, oh my god, her skin is so nice, and I can see her ankle.
To be fair, I feel like I accept that is not natural. Like it's magical. She has a magical beauty that I feel like is intended to distract men and confuse them. So like I'll let him have that one, but also the way that it has happened before, where a beautiful woman has walked in and been a dark friend, and he's still not suspicious, is a vibe.
Also, like, I'm with you for the magic, but then like, can we see that? Can we hear like a story in a pub once of some woman that was like magically beautiful? So then we get like the tidbits later on. Maybe this is just like my logic-driven magic brain that like I need to be
I
told
agree.
things. I need the lore there to make those magics make sense because I'm not just gonna assume these things.
Yeah, I know she's the daughter of darkness, but I don't know what that means. I'm sure she would have been mentioned like very offhandedly before, like maybe in the first book or something, but I didn't pick up on it until this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, also Lanfear was also
to put it in too.
I just want to see Lanfear cause carnage.
The one, okay, so she's mentioned in the one chapter that Moraine has. So that is the purpose of that one chapter.
How did we feel about Matt and the blowing of the horn and how you can just use the horn at any moment?
Are you surprised? That was me. I was like,
It just annoys me because like what was like it felt like such an easy out for that scene. Like we set up like this battle and then he's just gonna blow the horn that we've heard about for the last war now.
After the whole point, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To be fair, I would say that they didn't necessarily need it at any point until then. They weren't in like because it's kind of a big step, isn't it? Calling in a bunch of like heroes to save your ass. So like I feel like
anybody can use it. You mean to tell me that one of these teenage boys, just like him stealing the dagger, wouldn't have been like, let me just blow on this? And
does it though? Fair. Like, can anybody do it? Because they're all Terran.
But like, why wouldn't it have been used at other times during other battles then? Either.
Yeah. Like in the 100,000 of years.
The big magic pit, didn't they, at the end of Eye of the World?
Yeah, they found it somewhere. I don't remember where.
With a green man somewhere.
Yeah, maybe it was just hidden for such a long time that nobody's had it since like the breaking of the world, which I think is when that pool was created, if I remember correctly. Not everyone could open the chest. I don't know why. I don't remember why though, but that is true.
Did you guys expect that Matt would be the one to blow the horn?
I honestly didn't even think about it. It didn't. I don't know. I was too annoyed with the horn being blown to even think about that.
Because I remember the first time I read it, I was like, oh, Matt blew the horn. I thought it for sure it would be Rand. Because like he does everything.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. But then Matt's always the one getting himself into trouble and doing the stupid stuff that he probably shouldn't.
Oh, fair.
I think I'm on the opposite that I wish it had been Rand because then it would have felt like only maybe Rand could do it. Like only the dragon could blow the horn.
Yeah.
Where now it's like, can anyone? Like
Tammy did make a good point there though, because it has to be somebody who isn't seeking glory. So maybe it's a signal that Matt is not bad.
Fair.
But then they were in a life or death situation, so I don't think it implies that he isn't bad. I think it implies that he's in a desperate situation where he just wants to live, not seek like glory necessarily.
Yeah, he's not seeking glory right now. That doesn't mean he might not be eventually.
Right.
I'm hoping that there's dire consequences. I really am.
I'm not convinced there will be, but that would be nice.
I'm very confused about Arthur Hawkwing because he sent those armies away and then they came back and started like torturing people. So I thought he was a good guy.
No, Arthur Hawkwing was like the king of all the land, and then he sent like some of the people away to like conquer other lands.
But I thought he was.
But then
good
he
at that.
died. Yeah, but he just wanted to be king of everything. He was a good guy because he managed to make everyone underneath him, and then it was peace.
Oh, I thought he was like one of the. I thought he was one of the reincarnations of the dragon. That could just be me like assuming that he's one of the dragons.
No, I don't think. Was Arthur Hawkwin a dragon? I thought it was Lewis Theron who was a dragon.
Yeah, but he's been reincarnated more than once, so I thought that he was one of those.
Arthur Hawkwin was at least like a great king, and then like they just came back because it was like Arthur's land, and they are from like Arthur's descendants, so that's why they are.
So I thought that they would be like chill though, and then they were really weren't.
No, they want the land, and then they make people swear to them, and as long as they don't break the rules, then they're fine. But I think it's really interesting with the whole. I like the whole like the bracelet thing, and how like you can control a person through the bracelet. Damani, isn't that what they're called? And then like they found out that the person who was controlling the bracelet also could channel all along, and then like the whole society is just like, what? I thought that was interesting.
I felt like I was kind of disappointed by that last plot twist on that, because I just thought that it meant that you could control anyone. And they were saying that it was specifically Aes Sedai, but like in reality, you could turn it on anyone and use it. But no, it's just like that they are also able to channel.
Yeah, you could use it on anyone, but you can only use on people who channel. So not anyone can channel. But yeah.
It does make sense though, because it was like, well, why can you use it? Like, why can you use it to control people if you don't have magic? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But for them, it was always like that they were special, that they could control it, but they didn't know they could channel.
And also, it's conveniently only women that can use it.
Which I feel like is.
I wanted more from all of that too. That was like my big problem. Like I felt like the interesting things in this book I wanted more of, and then I got a lot of just Rand.
I do feel like we did start off very strong. I did really like the beginning. I just like turned up immediately.
I liked that too. I liked the meeting with the Amlin seat, and then like him in the women's chambers. I thought was really funny, actually. This. Wait, I have a comment to pull up. How did we feel about this?
I was actually suspicious towards the end with how desperate he started getting for the horn. It was like he was just reaching for it a bit too much, and I was like, I don't quite trust him anymore.
He just wanted to redeem himself. I thought it was like a kind of dark friend where you can kind of understand why they went to the dark side.
For Clementine with the collars, they were created by an Aes Sedai who gave them to the Sean Chan, who then turned the collars on the person who invented them for.
Yeah. So it was like an Aes Sedai who made it like a billion years ago. Not a billion years ago, but a long time ago. And then they used them to control the Aes Sedai because they think Aes Sedai are bad people. But it turns out the people controlling the Aes Sedai also can channel. So in theory, they could also be Aes Sedai.
I too wish that she had just been morally gray. But
I was surprised. I don't know how it surprised me that she was Black Aja, because when it happened, I was like, that was so obvious. Like, I didn't
yeah.
I liked that though. I mean, I like the introduction of that stuff. I feel like we get all of these cool things introduced, kind of like the Green Man or whatever in the last book, and you get all this stuff introduced, and then it's just like, here we are. Okay, we're never gonna talk about it again. It's just gonna kind of go over here. And so I really want to start touching back on all of that stuff.
I'm sorry, it's just my internet being shitty, and I'm the one hosting, and it makes everyone else echo.
It's okay.
Welcome to being at a cabin in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know why.
Why are you in the cabin of the middle of nowhere?
Because I own a cabin, and we have internet, but it's shitty.
Do you just own a cabin? Like you own a cabin?
Not me, but like my entire family does. It's like a shared cabin.
Okay.
Sandra's like, wait a minute now. Do I need to come to your cabin?
Cassie's just like, yeah, I just own a cabin.
Yeah, that's how you said it. I own a cabin.
Yeah. I loved the prologue of this book. I was like, this is a prologue that I wish we'd gone the first book.
I don't like prologues like that because I have to reread them at the end because I was reading this like this don't make any sense. Don't know what's happening.
It got me
When
so
I read
intrigued. And then I feel like lots of this
loves
stuff
a
wasn't
good
touched on.
When I read the book for the first time, I listened to that prologue in a car. We were going to like a cabin, and then I didn't pick up the book again for 2 months because I was just like, I don't understand anything. Bye. The first time I read it, the cabin was just not the cabin. I meant the prologue, not the cabin. Was like nah. But now I really liked it this time around.
Well, I like prologues where you have to like read to find out. It's intriguing.
Me too.
Oh, it depends. I struggle. Like if something doesn't make sense to me, my brain just doesn't retain it. So like I need the context. If I don't have the it's like I don't remember the first 100 pages of Assassin's Apprentice because it didn't make sense to me when I read it. So
That's
now
fair.
people are like, oh, this happened on page like 50. I'm like, did it?
I remember. Gosh, you're twisted.
I was trying to think about other cool things.
There's something I had and I don't remember what it was now.
Oh, I've got some notes in my phone that I made. I need to do the last clip of my spoiler vlog, so I'll see if I have anything interesting in there.
What do we think about the Civil War? Do we think that's gonna like come back to play later now that Rand started a whole civil war?
It
By
better.
not answering letters.
Yeah, I was confused that like, why didn't everyone like if that city reacted to everyone the way they reacted to Rand? It should have been a civil war like years ago.
I guess that's what the whole game that they talked about, the Game of Houses, which reminds me of Game of Thrones. But like the whole point of like the Game of Houses, they mentioned it like, what's it called again? Dias Dinar, something like that. Or something like there's a word
I
for
can't
it.
pronounce half the stuff in this book.
The other
And
thing
then
I
it was just like, okay.
I had an issue with was when they go through the stone into like the portal world and they just get visions of other lives. And like those lives don't affect them at all. I
really liked that though.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
Some sort of like character development though. You're telling me Rand just lived 10 lives and has nothing to say about it, nothing to like show
Doesn't
for
change his character at all
Yeah.
or grow him in any way. Yeah.
How can it? All he does is let things happen to him. That's just
Fair.
This is true.
I will say I did find it very interesting that one of the alternate lives was like the repeat of, is it Manatharan? That the city is called, that Two Rivers is on, or like it was there before Two Rivers. I thought that one in particular was very interesting.
Oh, we met our first Aiel. We talked to Aiel for a moment. Nobody probably remembers, but they're a huge deal. So I was very excited because I missed them.
I was gonna add, that was what I was gonna ask though, that comment. I was gonna ask Cassidy how she felt about all of the dreams.
I don't like the dreams.
It's like vision stuff.
I
Kind of
just
annoying.
expect them now in this and I phase them out, to be honest, because I hate dream tropes so much.
Something
and,
else that I really didn't like about this is any fight that he has with the Dark One, because obviously it's not
Always
actually
in a
happening.
dream.
Or like at the end where he just like appears but isn't actually there, obviously.
Yeah.
When they're
Like,
up in the
I
sky.
was like, I need more them to like.
I hate dream sequences too, especially in movies where like they have a weird dream and it's just like this doesn't matter at all. Like because it doesn't actually affect anything. It's just it's not real. It's always just like to show like what could be the like fan service or whatever. Like that one Shadow and Bone episode in season 2 where they only sleep and have those dream sequences. Hated it.
The only
I'm
time
just not enjoying season 2 at all, to be honest. So
the only time dream sequences are allowed is in a smutty book when it's just to get us a good smutty scene.
Yes. Or in Demon Slayer, the train arc. That is allowed. That no one cares about, but I care about a lot.
Oh god, they were so annoying. Annoying. I hate that. No, why would you remind me about that?
Yeah.
I remember reading it and it was just like, I used the Black Swan frequent sequency, and I was just like, what is that? What is that?
What does that mean? Yeah.
I have no idea.
No, I don't want to.
In a book where like blades of grass are described. Describe me the
Right?
story. Like, tell me what really matters here.
It's not even that. It's like you don't have to. That just makes it unnecessarily complicated. It just reads like nonsensically
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
he's like charging boar, like diving swan, and it's like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Can you
See,
imagine?
I just
when
imagine-
you think about it, diving swan just in my brain looks ridiculous.
Like, woo! Yeah. I just imagine like it would be easier if you just wrote he swung the sword down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why not just write that?
That was
did-
definitely true for Ingtar.
It did impact Ingtar, but I think it's just Rand for me. Like,
It's always Rand. Always
he just
Rand.
needs some character development.
I don't feel like I'm expecting much from Rand because typically he is a chosen one character, and chosen one characters tend to be the blank slate that you put yourself onto. So like I'm not expecting anything from him because typically like chosen one characters are all super boring, bland, white bread characters. So I feel like that's why I don't enjoy following him. But I'm
But
not
then
expecting him to
if
like blow me
That's
away
the
at any point.
case, though. Like that's fine, but then we don't need to spend so much time in his point of view if he's going to be a bland white character. And then for two, I need more from the rest of them to make up for that. And if that's the character he is, that's fine. That's just the trope and the archetype. But you've got to give me something of substance somewhere else to still keep me interested. Otherwise, it's just like white bread all the time with no pumpernickel. That's sad.
Elspot makes a very good point about him being wish fulfillment for teenage boys. Absolutely.
I just like this, just because he is this character doesn't mean I have to like it. Like, you know, there are people who do this better than, for me personally, than Robert Jordan does. I've had chosen one characters that still have a little bit of spice to them, some kind of thing. And like, I don't think I like how Rand is written at all. And I feel like then it's really going to impact my enjoyment of the series. But
I think it is also different from our perspective because one, we're women, and also it's 2023, so we expect a lot more from fantasy in general now. So to see a character like Rand that is like the archetype of the chosen one is like difficult for us to read because we expect so much more and have gotten so much more from fantasy and chosen one tropes in general.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I'm gonna complain about Rand, but I also feel like we don't get much of the world or anything in here. Like, the whole book is Rand, and he's boring. And like, give me something else. Give me more.
Mm-hmm.
I think
like I need more explanation into the magic system or the politics or something. But instead, we just attach ourselves to Rand and then follow him as he does a bunch of stupid stuff and makes some interesting choices.
I think like if we follow Rand as we do now, like the type of character he is, I think it would be more interesting if you follow other people more than just observe Rand being the typical character. Because then like he could still be the typical boring ass gender tall dude he is. But we could see it from other point of views kind of. And then I think it would have been much more like mysterious and interesting in a way.
Yeah.
This is interesting because I don't know how much faith I have in Robert Jordan because I've never read anything from him before, and also I'm not familiar with 14-book fantasy series that feel as classic. Because this is only 6 years before like Realm of the Oddlings and Game of Thrones, but it feels so much older.
Yeah.
Like it feels closer to Le Guin than it does. Like you can see the progression from like Le Guin to George R.R. Martin, but like the style of it and the setting, it feels closer to like Tolkien and Le Guin than it does to like George R.R. Martin. So like, do I have the faith in Robert Jordan to give me the character progression that I know that Sanderson would give? I mean, Sanderson is going to give it to me in the last 3 books, but like before then, do I trust him to give the level of progression that like Sanderson does? Because Sanderson does a level of progression across 3 books that Robert Jordan isn't doing across 2.
Yeah.
So
I think it falls back for me personally that I'm learning that I don't like that classic fantasy travel to a destination to get a goal to obtain something adventure type story. It's just not something that I gravitate to because it feels so mundane almost.
Agreed.
And then you all said yes to this read along.
Yeah. I learned that later in my defense. But I still want to read, like, I still want to read them. I want to know, like I said, the origins of a lot of fantasies that I do like that take this trope and turn it a little bit and add some stuff to it. So I still want to see that, but I think that I'm going to have to temper my expectations of what we're going to get.
Yeah.
I broke this down into like 30 to 40 pages a day for like 16 days, and that really helped because it was easy to, like, it's a manageable section to get through in a day without it feeling kind of tedious. But I also don't really like classic fantasy, and that kind of like going along was painful for me. And I feel like, to be fair, I feel like if I hadn't have tried Earthsea, I would be struggling a lot more with this, but at least this is like readable.
Yeah, I mean,
I
they're
think
not bad, but
I think one thing to think about. I think one thing to think about with Earthsea and like how it's similar to this is maybe like Robert Jordan. I don't know how old he was when he wrote this, but like he grew up with those stories. So for him, maybe it's much closer than like it would be like with Game of Thrones a few years later. Like George R. R. Martin was born a few years later. I don't know, no, maybe not, but you get what I mean. George R. R. Martin is super old. You get what I mean. So maybe like he grew up with this, so that's why he's closer in like the style he wanted to write. So we don't know when he wrote this. Like he might have written it a few years before. But I personally really like classic fantasy. I really like the typical story. So for me, it's just like, I love this. And also, I think it's fun to read like the classics because it's fun to see how other things are affected later, like back as us. Even though like maybe you don't love them, but it's fun to see how it's been affected.
That's exactly why I'm suffering through Lord of the Rings. Trust me, that's a lot worse than this.
I read Lord of the Rings, and I know there's like hardcore Tolkien fans out there. No disrespect to them, but I'm just like, it is barely like readable. Like there's just the words. It's too fancy. I'm like, it's like reading Shakespeare, and I hate reading Shakespeare because I think it's like barely readable.
For me, it's just that it's so monotonous, and it's like, because I know that this gets compared to Tolkien quite a lot, but Tolkien will describe a forest for 3 pages, whereas Robert Jordan will do it for like a paragraph, and that is why this is tolerable, and I can't do Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I can't do the walking. I think that's part of the reason that I liked this one slightly even less than the first one, is because it did feel like so much more travel. Whereas the first one, they were traveling, but because he was trying to like do a lot of setup, you were still getting some moments in between. But with this one, I was just like, okay, when are we going to stop walking? Like and it wasn't just walking, but
in terms of contents, I actually enjoyed this one more. The only reason why it's on par with Eye of the World for me is that I don't think it progressed the plot as much as I would have liked the second book in a series to do. Because I heard that Robert Jordan wrote, it was supposed to be a trilogy, then it was supposed to be a standalone, then it went back to a trilogy, and then it went into like 15, 16 books. So like, if this was supposed to be a trilogy, how can this be the level of plot progression you put in book 2?
Right.
That's maybe why he realized it couldn't be a trilogy.
Like, I don't know who told me that. I've definitely, since we read the first book, I don't know whether it was my comments, I don't know whether someone said in a live show, but yeah, apparently it was supposed to be a trilogy, and then it got cut to a standalone for maybe the publishers, and then extended again, and then obviously it never ended. It just kept going.
How in the world it could be a trilogy?
I don't see how in the world it can be 15 books long either.
That too. And I think that's part of it too, is I'm just sitting here like, okay, if nothing changes and all 15 books are like this, I'm going to have a problem. Because like right now I can let it go.
Like I have to have faith that like Randy's actually going to accept. I have to like kind of feel like, okay, so they all don't want this destiny right now, but when they accept the destiny, maybe then they'll start to do things. I do think it's interesting actually how Rand is like slowly being treated like a lord, and how that's evolving into him being treated like a king. And I am seeing some shift in his personality based on that. And also something that's interesting is the way that other people regard him because of that. So like Matt's like, oh well, like he's getting ahead of himself, like he dresses like this now when people are calling him this, and like that kind of thing. So I'm actually really interested in seeing him evolve, because I think he's going to go into like a king like figure, and then comparing that to like how he is now will be interesting. But I just feel like it's going to be slow going there. I just feel like I have faith that it will change, but right now it's just not there, you know.
I'm really nervous.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the trust yet,
and I'm nervous that it's going to be every book is going to be them coming together to split up, to go traveling, to come together to split up, and I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do traveling for 15 books. I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
I'm like, in my head, I obviously have like the most recent books, like the last books in my head clearer than the first ones because I read them over like 6 years or something. So in my head, I'm actually surprised of like how things stands now compared to later because I kind of like forgot that this was how it was in the beginning. I was just like, oh, this is how this worked out. Like, because I'm so used to something else completely different, but not completely different, but much more different than it is now.
It makes me feel better though, because like some authors, you can kind of get that trust instantly in the way that they write. There's little snippets and things that you're like, okay, this is not working for me now, but I can see it working for me in the future. But for some reason with Jordan, I just have not found that trust yet that he's going to make this into a much wider story that everyone is going to evolve and progress and change. I don't know. I'm still waiting for that moment of like, okay, now I trust you. I see where something has happened and now led to this point that makes me trust you. But I need some more of those like little details to start to, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm not quite there yet.
Agreed. I'm hoping to get there though.
Yeah.
The thing that's making me kind of have more faith in it as well is that Brandon Sanderson picked it up at the end. So it has to be a series that Brandon Sanderson felt that he could finish. And I obviously trust Brandon Sanderson. Saying that, I'm reading Second Year of Mistborn right now and I hate it, but like generally, I can trust Brandon Sanderson.
Aren't the last 3 though most people's least favorite?
Is that not people that are like massive Robert Jordan stans though?
Maybe. I don't know.
I
We'll
saw
probably
other people
like
be
them,
like
I think.
loving the last 3.
My mom
Okay.
hated Brandon Sanderson's parts.
If you think of like the material that he's been given to work with and the fact that he's Brandon Sanderson, like I feel like he could do a really good job because of the wealth of information contained in these books that like he has to piece together at the end. I feel like he could do a really good job.
I thought he did a good job, but also like I'm not like a hardcore Wheel of Time fan like some other people are. So maybe they're like really hardcore Robert Jordan boys, and then like Brandon Sanderson came and ruined it for them, which is they can feel what they want. You know what I mean?
I do feel like that's a fantasy dude bro issue, not a Brandon Sanderson.
I agree.
Fantasy dude bro issue. Yeah.
Maybe I just heard Cassie say her mom hated it and ran with it then.
Yeah, my mom just said Brandon Sanderson was somehow more wordy, which
Fair.
He has a lot of things to cover though, because at the point where it ends, where like Rantan takes over, just like we are in a lot of stuff. So he couldn't just like, he had to. Yeah. But also, you guys are gonna hate like the slump in the middle because nothing happens in those, and it happens less stuff there than it happens.
Is that like book 7 to 10 or something?
Yeah, like you guys are gonna like hate me.
I have not heard anyone tell me that a book isn't a slump part. Like I swear, every other person tells me that different books are slump parts, and I'm just like what did I sign up for?
Book 1 to 3 is rough. Book 4 is good. Book 5 to 7 are okay. 7 to 10 are very slow, and then Brandon Sanderson wrote the rest.
I think like at a point in a slump, I gave one of them like 2 stars because at that point I was like, I want out of here. So that is coming from me who really like the series.
Great, I'm already giving books 2 stars.
Yeah, but like coming from me who really enjoyed it. At that point, I was just like, why is nothing happening?
This should be illegal.
Like we read them then.
No, please don't.
This should be illegal.
It's like in every Robin Hobb trilogy, there's one 40-page chapter. It's like, why? And then I remember very distinctly in the live ship traders, it's people skinning animals for like 47 pages. And I'm like, why? I just like one in every trilogy.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to book 3 because I've heard Rand is in it a lot less. So
he's barely there.
This is my saving grace for book 3.
I've heard good things about 3 from several people. So.
I feel like we need to put in our bets now. Will Cassidy ever rate one of the Wheel of Time books 4 stars?
Maybe one of the Sanderson ones, or maybe the last one, just because it'll be done.
I think at that point she already 1 star.
I feel like there are some definite 1 stars in the future.
Yeah, definitely. This one was close.
I never give 1 star.
I don't like even this one, but I really like slow things where nothing happens. So like,
yeah, I hate traveling for no reason.
Me too.
I love traveling and I love all fantasy tropes. So yeah.
Which like, I like Realm of the Outerlings, so I don't know what happened in that one.
Even in the last like Assassin's Quest, I still like that however long traveling, I was just like,
It was 200. It was 200 pages of Fitz walking and being depressed.
I'm going to lose
But I
my mind.
love those pages. I love those pages.
No. I just couldn't.
Okay. Do we have anything else to say? I feel like we're just now
We've run out of
chatting.
time.
Probably.
Oh wait, we should probably do a section on predictions for book 3 and stuff.
Oh, okay.
No.
I don't have any.
Becca, I think that's all you, but please go.
I did have some when I was reading, but I forgot. I still think that Rand and Elaine are like endgame. Like I still feel like that's the one that he's going to go with. I'm also now putting Egwene with, is it Galad or Gawain? These are just Arthur names now. I don't know if they're the names of the actual brothers. Like, I feel like them two are still pairing, you know, that could be one. I also see Rand becoming like this king, especially because that does bring it full circle. I feel like he's going to become even more insufferable though when he does have authority and power and like finally accepts it. That's going to be such a drag. Nynaeve, super powerful. So I feel like she is now going to be the Amelin seat eventually.
I can see that.
Because I know we said that last time, but we weren't sure whether it was her or Egwene. I did have some really good theories while I was reading, but as soon as I put a book down, I empty my brain. So like they're gone.
Did you guys notice that Nynaeve has like a block? She can only channel if she's angry.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
she's
thought
super
that was
powerful.
just like it was a block, but more of a like, because she doesn't know how to do it, she can only access it instinctually, and that's the instinctual, like the way that
No,
she
like
knows
it's actually like a real block. Like it's gonna
okay.
be talked a lot about. Because I think like it wasn't explained clearly here, but it's because I didn't understand it either. That was like an actual block until like I don't know, next book or the book after, and I was just like, oh,
Because she's never trained, so I too just assumed this is just her
so
instinct.
it wasn't really a spoiler, but I'm sorry if I spoiled now. But yeah, sorry.
Because like they just make her a full like she just gets to progress in this without any training. This made no sense to me.
Agreed.
I really hope that Elaine's brothers become main characters at some point. I feel like because Egwene's taken an interest in one of them, that they have potential to actually be more relevant. But I'm really interested actually in why they hate each other. There's one of the brothers that they don't like, and I think it's because he's a half brother. I don't know, like the feels like
he was like the son of like another person that their mom had.
That's not his
I don't think they share a mother. I don't even remember. I don't think they share a mother, they share a father. And then they just like don't like him. I don't remember.
I would
we also have all this part of the world that we haven't been to yet. We've been everywhere else now.
We'll get there. They'll travel, I assure you.
I was really worried.
I didn't realize this book was dedicated to a lot of people. Like a lot of people. I didn't realize until now. Now I need to look at them now.
I was really worried partway through that this book was going to become like a repeat of the first one, the way that they just suddenly went, we have to go get what's he called? That guy, is it Fane? Pat,
yeah,
whatever. Yeah, like, we have to go get him. Let's go through the ways. So I'm glad that they couldn't go, because I was like, can we not just have it was kind of one of those, like the first one where it's like, let's do everything really slowly, and then in the last 100 pages, like just teleport across the map to where we need to be. And like, why can't the conflict just be closer? Why can't they just walk there?
Why does it
because it's a huge world.
Miles away?
Why does it have to be like, we need to get there immediately, let's go through the ways?
It's like here, it's like, oh, there's a conflict in Nebraska, I can just walk over to Nebraska, but I would probably arrive faster than these people here because I could take a plane.
Not a prediction.
From Stacey, the Nynaeve could channel in the test section and be fine when others couldn't.
But before I have one question. If you had to choose now, you have to choose. Who is your favorite character now? I know it's not Rand.
Overall, or based on book 2, because I'm a really stubborn person and I'm also really loyal. So, like, I want to say Perrin, but I have no reason to say that based on the book I've just read. It's just who was my one in book 1.
I can't do it, Sandra.
Me either.
No, you have to.
There's not a single character that has good development. Ask me book 3 when we see more of just
everyone else.
Not Egwene, not Moraine. Not anyone.
Yeah, no. Again, I'm with Cassidy.
Loyal's a good one. You can't hate Loyal. Loyal's never done a bad thing in his life. He's a sweet.
I do like Loyal, but is he my favorite?
Yeah, but like the one you like, the one you don't hate. That is the better
I don't hate Loyal.
He's precious. You can never hate Loyal.
I don't know if I can answer that. At this moment in time, I hate every single person.
Mine's Elaine.
Even
I don't know
loyal?
what it is.
Mhm.
I just have very good feelings about Elaine. I feel like she has right less what's the word? She has less self-importance than anybody else, and she's the most important character in there because she's like a princess. She's going to be the queen, and she is the most like humble of all of them.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah, I'm most interested in Moraine's POVs, so you could have that. But Loyal also makes up for a character thing that I hate, and it's just someone who's around to know things.
That's fair.
I feel like that's Moraine though. Like I liked her, but then she used to go off on really patronizing tangents in like Eye of the World, where she's
I
like,
agree with that
"The world is going to end,
Yes.
and you have done this, and if you don't do this, then we're all gonna die." It's like,
Yeah.
all right.
I'm most interested in hearing Moraine's POVs because we get other things, but I don't like Moraine either. Like,
Yeah.
it's like Moraine and other people's, especially too,
self-absorbed.
when like, ugh, yeah.
I will ask this again in every book, and then in the final book we will see everyone's answers. And then Cassidy will still answer, "I hate everyone."
It'll just be me and you here, Sandra, because I can't quit anything.
No,
And you actually like the series.
no, I choose pain. I'll probably be here.
I think at that point I will be alone. I think I will sit here alone, but gets back
You'll
guys
be
out because
alone.
she has life, and then you guys give up, and I'm here alone.
No,
That's
I
what it
do
will
still
be.
like it. You're making me reconsider my 4-star rating though, and I'm like, should it be a 3?
I don't know. I'll be here.
I gave
I
Eye of the World 4, and I stand by that. And I liked this one at least the same amount as Eye of the World, which is why I feel like this has to be a 4. But then also in hindsight, I'm like, but it feels more like a 3. It's just the lack of progression for me. Like the book was better or the same, but it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But then I can't feel like I can give it less than a 4 if I technically liked it better than Eye of the World. I'm just conflicted.
Let your enjoyment stand for what it is and give it a 4.
Okay. I'll still be conflicted about this, and like we'll get to the end of the thing, and I'm like, I'm still not sure about my rating on book 2, guys. Like,
Fair.
but I can't change it now. It's been so long.
I hope
Oh,
this would be so good if this happens.
I hope it will be.
I
Matt.
hope not. But
I'm predicting
maybe,
it will be
maybe.
Cassidy.
I hope so, actually, because that means that we had progression of his character.
Sandra, do you have a favorite character, like just from these 2 books, like without like thinking about what you know from more on?
Can you do
At this
that?
point, I only liked Land, but he was barely in this one. But I love Land from the beginning, and I was just so sad reading this. I was just, where is Land? But at this point, I actually think like a lot of the like Nynaeve and stuff, she really annoyed me because she's always like, oh, stubborn all the time. But then like I really loved her, and then I hated her, and then I really loved her again. But it's like that with a lot of the characters. And I really don't like Matt. Like at this point, before I knew anything, I think Matt is annoying.
I mean, he is, but I kind of like him.
My like of Matt probably comes more from the show because I liked where his character went in the show, which I know
is very different from his character is very different from the books.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably Lan, even though that's maybe a weird answer considering he was like here for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, she said based on 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we should end this now.
Yes.
See you in 2 months.
Yeah, thanks for coming. The next who's hosting the next one? Do we know?
Becca.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it me? It can be me. I don't care.
I actually don't know. I thought I was last for some reason, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll do it.
Okay.
And Becca can have her last spot unless Becca wants it, and then Becca, by all means, like you take it.
I don't
fight. Paper, rock, scissors, go.
Oh no, I don't care enough for that.
Yeah, no.
I will be here wherever you tell me to be, whether it's on my channel or someone else's. I'll be here.
Exactly. And these live shows fall in the months where I'm not doing anything, so also like it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, in the next one will be in June, I guess, like in the beginning of June, which I realize is like 100 years until.
Well, you said that, but it's been 2 months since we were last here.
I know, that's crazy.
Yeah, but it feels like It feels like 100 years ago since we lost.
Guys, like
That's 2 weeks ago to me.
I do this frequently. Let me tell you, it will be the end of this series before we realize it, because like I've done 2 read-alongs like this and actually completed them, which is wild.
Oh, never mind. Nope, I don't want them. That scares me. That's too much pressure.
Hot damn.
Looks
That's a
like
lot
we're
of
going to
pressure.
Becca's channel. Also, I realized that the schedule, we're probably gonna have to do a Sunday in June, just so you all know.
Okay.
We're on a
Bye.
Sunday now.
Yeah.
Like a power tool.
The reaction was a lot.
Yes.
That was a power tool.
It was a vacuum, at least.
Not sounding like a vacuum. It sounded like a drill.
Yeah, it's a vacuum that's full and needs to be changed, I think. Spinner wheel it is. Okay, we're ending this. Thank you all for hanging out. We'll be back in June, and we'll let you know exactly when. And that's all. I hate ending things, so I'm just hitting bye.
Bye.